So we could see that anointings can pass through spiritual fathers. Anointings can pass. Power can pass. Because we could clearly see they were walking along and talking together. And then suddenly a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and separated them two. It was almost like God said, that's it. I am taking him home, and I'm releasing, which is my power, which is God's power that is on Elijah. I'm releasing it upon you, Elisha, because it's mine, but I'm taking him home. But the power stays. See how that works? And then if you know the story of Elisha, right? He asked Elijah, he asked him, may I have a double portion? And Elijah told him, if you follow me to the end, you may get it and you may not, right? What does that talk about? That talks about you got to be tested. It's just not freely given. A power is not freely given. You have to be tested. You got to go through trials. It said, well, you got to follow me. That means you got to follow him in the valleys. You got to follow him in the mountaintops. You got to follow him in all things, right? And you will show yourself approved. And Elijah, it seems that Elijah showed himself approved because Elijah was there in the end. Elijah was walking along together with him, right? He went through the valleys. He went through a parted river. He went through all things, right? He showed himself approved, and he showed himself worthy of the power and the anointing that was on Elijah. And then Elijah went up into heaven in a whirlwind. And Elisha saw and cried out, my father, my father. That was his spiritual father. It's almost like a sense. He loved Elijah so much. He cried out because at first you could see that he wanted the double portion, right? So then you would see if Elijah was taken up in the whirlwind, right? If that double portion was so important, he would have been like, oh, cool, I got it, right? But no, he didn't say that. He cried out, my father, my father. That means he wasn't worried about the anointing. He was worried about Elijah. He loved Elijah. It was his father. He had a relationship with Elijah. He was taught all things through Elijah. And he cried out, my father, my father. And with that submission, see, it even goes deeper. There was a level of submission as a father. And he cried out. And what ended up happening through that level of submission and obedience, right? He ended up with that portion, that double portion. And we can see Elijah did mighty and great things. The first thing that Elijah did was roll up that mantle, and he walked to that Jordan and he smoked those waters. He said, I part these waters and the powers of Elijah. He didn't say Elisha because he hasn't earned it yet. He only worked and operated on the power of Elijah. And he smoked those waters, and those waters parted from left and right because he loved